They heard her scream again that night. It was long, piercing, and sorrowful, the kind of sound that made babies cry in their sleep, and elders murmur old prayers under their breath. From the edge of Irua village, where the palm trees bowed low and the wind often whispered secrets, came the cry of a woman. Ivy, the woman who cried snakes. She was 28, the most beautiful woman in all of Irua. Her eyes sparkled with mystery, her dark skin glowed like fresh rain on the earth, and her hair, a thick natural afro with red-threaded twists, framed her face like a crown. But beneath that beauty was pain. And at the center of her pain was a curse. As dawn approached, villagers gathered at a distance, watching her from behind kola trees and thatched roofs. No one dared go close. Not after what they saw the last time. That night, when she wept in grief, 2 snakes slithered out of her eyes. One black, one green, hissing, alive, and filled with rage. God forbid, an old woman whispered, clutching her wrapper tighter. But God had nothing to do with it anymore. This curse was ancient, and it had finally returned. Long ago, before the curse touched her. Ivy was different. She was laughter. She was music. She sold groundnut at Irua market with joy, shouting, "Groundnut for fine boys and girls, oh." Even the local chief's son, Osahan, admired her. She had dreams, to open a food store, marry a man who loved her, raise children with laughter in their eyes. But all of that changed, the day she returned from the stream. That day, the sky was heavy. Dark clouds rolled like thunder drums, but no rain fell. Ivy had gone to fetch water at Omi River, the deepest river around Irua, a place many avoided after sunset. But Ivy, bold and fearless, went alone, humming softly. Then she saw something. A woman, sitting by the river's edge, weeping. She had long white hair that flowed like silk, and her face shimmered with tears. Ivy, with her kind heart, approached and asked softly, "Auntie, are you all right?" The woman turned to her. Her eyes glowed red. Her lips did not move, yet Ivy heard the voice in her head. "Thank you for your kindness, but kindness has a price." From that moment, Ivy's life was never the same. The first time it happened, it was during her brother's burial. He had died in his sleep, suddenly, without sickness. Ivy, broken and full of pain, collapsed beside his body and wept. She wept so deeply, it felt like the earth should split open. And then it did. As her tears fell, her eyes burned like pepper. She screamed. Her body shook. Then, something slid down her cheeks. At first, people thought it was tears mixed with dirt. But when they saw them move, when they saw the snakes, 2 of them, slithering from her eyes and onto the ground, they ran. Women screamed, men shouted abomination. Even the elders called it Ogbanj madness. Ivy herself didn't understand. She passed out, cold. When she awoke, everyone was gone. Even her mother stood at a distance, afraid. "Why is this happening to me?" she cried. But no answer came. Only the sound of soft hissing, from inside her soul. By the 3rd incident, villagers stopped talking to her altogether. Children were warned, if you play near Ivy's house, you will disappear. Mothers spit on the ground when her name was mentioned. Men crossed to the other side of the road when she passed. She became a ghost, alive, but untouchable. One night, as she sat outside her mother's compound, she heard the whispers again. Voices. Not human, not animal. They echoed in her head. Return to the river. Let the truth be known. Your tears are not yours alone. She clutched her head, begging them to stop. But then, she saw something. A shadow, tall and hooded, watching her from across the compound wall. It didn't move. It didn't blink. It just watched. When she blinked, it was gone. She rushed inside, breathing hard, but her mother was silent, afraid to even ask what she saw. Ivy curled on her mat that night, whispering to herself. I just wanted to help. I didn't ask for this. But the curse didn't care. And it was only getting stronger. In the heart of Irua lived Mama Obu, the oldest midwife in the village. Some said she was over 90. Others believed she had stopped aging long ago. She was the only one brave enough to visit Ivy. They had history. She was the one who helped deliver Ivy into the world. One hot afternoon, Mama Obu arrived uninvited, carrying a calabash and something wrapped in red cloth. Ivy, she called gently, let me look into your eyes. Ivy hesitated, then allowed the old woman to sit beside her. Mama Obu opened the calabash and sprinkled some ashes on the ground. Then she whispered, You did nothing wrong, child. But your mother did. Ivy's breath caught. What? Mama Obu's eyes narrowed. Your mother made a promise to a river goddess before you were born. She begged for a child after many years of barrenness, and in return, she promised you. As an offering. Ivy gasped. Her world spun. She never told you, Mama Obu said, but the river never forgets. That night, Ivy cried again. And this time, 3 snakes came out. Ivy didn't sleep that night. She sat in a corner of her room, knees pulled to her chest, watching the snakes slither slowly around her feet. They weren't attacking. They were just there. She didn't scream. She didn't move. She just stared at them, like they were part of her, like they had always been there, waiting. At dawn, she stood up, still trembling, and walked into her mother's hut. Mama, she said quietly, did you give me away? Her mother, tall, proud, always the strongest woman in the room, collapsed into a chair. She didn't deny it. Tears fell down the older woman's wrinkled face as she whispered, I was desperate, Ivy. I waited 15 years to have you. I was mocked. I was barren, and then the river goddess came to me. And I promised you. Ivy's hands shook. So all of this, the pain, the snakes, the voices, it's because of you? Her mother wept harder. I didn't know the goddess would claim you this way. Ivy turned and walked away. But as she stepped outside, she whispered, If I'm no longer yours, who do I belong to? That evening, Ivy walked alone toward the Omi River. Her red threaded afro swayed gently as the breeze whispered through the forest. Birds stopped singing. Even the crickets were silent. She carried nothing, not even a wrapper to cover her chest. Just her body, and the snakes beneath her tears. She had to know the truth. As she reached the edge of the river, she stood barefoot on the cold earth, staring into the black water. Then, slowly, the water rippled. A soft voice echoed from beneath the surface. "You returned." Ivy didn't flinch. "Why did you curse me?" she asked. The water swirled, and the woman with white hair rose again. Her face was not cruel, not angry. Only sad. "I did not curse you," the spirit said softly. "You were given to me. But I never wanted your pain. Then take it back." Ivy shouted, falling to her knees. The woman touched the river's surface, and a vision filled Ivy's mind, a flash of the past. Her mother, kneeling, bleeding, begging for a child. The goddess replied, "The pain must end with a choice. Either you return to the river, or the village pays the price." Ivy's heart raced. What did that mean? That same night, back in Irua, another child died. A healthy, strong 8-year-old boy who had just won the village wrestling game. He fell asleep in his mother's lap and never woke up. His body was cold. His mouth slightly open. And on his cheek, a small green snake scale. Panic spread like wildfire. "This is Ivy's doing," they screamed. "She's a witch. She's possessed. Let's burn her house." Before dawn, a group of angry villagers gathered, holding sticks, firewood, and palm oil torches. They surrounded her mother's compound. But when they kicked open the door, Ivy wasn't there. Only her mother, who stood in the doorway, trembling. "Where is she?" they yelled. Her mother fell to her knees, pleading. "She's gone. Please, don't hurt me." But the people didn't want mercy. They wanted blood. That day, they burned the compound. Ashes swallowed the memories, and smoke rose into the skies. They thought they had ended the curse. But Ivy was far from done. Deep in the sacred forest of Irua, where only elders and hunters dared to tread, Ivy sat beside a shrine. She had not eaten. She had not slept. The snakes were quiet, resting beneath her skin. But her spirit was on fire. Suddenly, she heard movement behind her. She turned and saw 3 figures approaching. Mama Obu, Osahan, the chief's son, and a strange woman with chalk on her forehead, wearing red beads around her neck. The woman knelt before Ivy. "My name is Adaora. I was born with eyes that see things others can't," she said. "I dreamt of you, Ivy. You were standing at a river of blood, and behind you, the whole village was drowning." Mama Obu added, "The curse wants an answer. You must choose, return to the river and become its servant, or let your pain consume Irua." Osahan, eyes filled with love, whispered, "There must be another way." Ivy looked at all of them. She felt her heart splitting in 3. She didn't ask for this. But fate had asked for her. And now, she had to answer. That night, as she slept beside the shrine, Ivy had a dream. In it, she stood inside a great room made of mirrors. Every reflection showed a different version of her, a crying child, a laughing girl, a mother holding a baby, and then, a woman with snakes instead of eyes. The room grew darker. Then, a giant serpent rose from the center, its voice like thunder. Do not run from what you are. You are not cursed. You are chosen. You are the gate between the living and the river. You must open, or all shall drown. Ivy woke up screaming, her skin covered in sweat and scales. Yes, real snake scales. She touched her cheeks and wept. But no snakes came this time. Only tears. And silence. She had one choice left. And the river was waiting. Before the break of dawn, Ivy returned to the Omi River, alone. This time, she wore a long white wrapper that flowed like mist. Her afro was bound with red cowries, and a single snake, small, golden, silent, coiled around her neck like a necklace. She stepped into the water. Not a ripple moved. Then suddenly, the river pulled her under. She didn't scream. She didn't resist. She surrendered. Under the water, everything was silent, until her feet touched the riverbed, and her eyes opened. She was no longer in Irua. She stood in a glowing palace of water, where spirits floated like mist and fish sang without mouths. Before her stood the river goddess, tall, radiant, terrifying. You return, she said. Yes, Ivy replied, but I want the curse broken. The goddess shook her head slowly. There is no curse. Only inheritance. You are my blood now. My tears. My vengeance. Ivy fell to her knees. I want peace, not power. The goddess replied. Then prove it, face the three truths. If your heart is clean, you will be free. Then, the palace began to spin. And the trial began. The first truth appeared as a shadow. Tall, familiar, wearing the face of her mother. Ivy gasped. Mama? But it was only a vision, a memory pulled from pain. She saw her mother again, kneeling beside the river 28 years ago, bleeding between her thighs, desperate, crying out. Take anything. I want a child. Please. Take her, take her. Ivy screamed, stop. But the vision continued. The river goddess appeared in the memory, whispering. She will cry for you. She will suffer for you. She will never be yours. Ivy's mother nodded. And the deal was sealed. The vision turned to face Ivy. Do you forgive her? The goddess asked from beyond the veil. Ivy's lips trembled. How can I forgive someone who handed me over, without telling me? Who watched me suffer and stayed silent? The river grew louder, waves crashed. Forgive, or the bond remains. Tears fell again. And this time, no snakes came. Just grief. I forgive her, Ivy whispered. The vision disappeared. And the river grew calm again. The second truth was Osahan. Handsome, brave, and kind, he stepped out of the mist and smiled. But his eyes were filled with guilt. Ivy saw the day he visited the shrine, years ago. The day he prayed for success and fame. She watched as he made a secret vow to the spirits. Give me power. I will give you my first love. And she realized. She was the price. It wasn't coincidence that he loved her. It was sacrifice. You sold me too, she whispered in the vision. Osahan's spirit replied, I was a boy. I didn't think it would work. I never thought it would be you. She turned her face away, heart burning. Do you forgive him? The goddess asked. Ivy clenched her fists. The river shook. Then, slowly, she nodded. Yes. I forgive him too. Not because he deserved it, but because she deserved to heal. The second truth vanished, and the waters began to glow. The third truth was herself, but not the woman she was now. It was the Ivy from before, joyful, innocent, full of dreams. This Ivy stood barefoot, clutching groundnut in one hand and hope in the other. You lost me, the vision said. I didn't mean to, Ivy replied, broken. You let them turn you into a monster. You let their fear shape you. You let your tears become poison. I had no choice, she cried. You always had a choice, to remember who you are. To fight, or to fade. The real Ivy knelt before her younger self. I'm sorry. I forgot. I let the snakes define me. Then she reached out and embraced her younger self. The moment their hands touched, the water exploded in light. The final trial was complete. And the curse was broken. Ivy awoke at the edge of the river, coughing, gasping, alive. She was soaked, but the snakes were gone. Her skin was smooth. Her eyes clear. No more hissing. No more scales. Only silence. And peace. She walked back to Irua slowly, barefoot, but unafraid. The villagers watched in shock. The same people who had once spat at her feet now whispered in awe. Mama Obu saw her and began to cry. Osahan approached, but she raised her hand. No need for words, she said softly. I remember. Her mother ran toward her, knelt at her feet, and kissed the earth. I'm sorry, she wept. Ivy helped her up. We are free now. And in that moment, something incredible happened. It began to rain. Not storm, not flood, just soft, cleansing rain. The sky wept, but not in sorrow. In healing. Word of Ivy's return spread through Irua like wildfire. The girl they once feared had come back, transformed. Some called her a goddess. Others, a miracle. But to Ivy, she was simply whole. The elders called a sacred meeting at the village square, something that hadn't happened in over 20 years. The oldest among them, Chief Agadigba, stood up slowly and said, We feared what we did not understand, we wronged you, Ivy. He bowed his head, and one by one, the others followed. Even the women who had once spit at her doorstep now knelt and whispered blessings. Ivy stood before them all, wearing a new white wrapper, her afro now adorned with red coral beads and feathers from the sacred Eigen bird. I was given away before I was born, she said, voice calm. I became a gate for pain. But today, I shut that gate. There was silence. Then, the villagers began to clap. Not out of celebration, but out of relief. She wasn't their curse anymore. She was their healer. 7 days later, a festival was declared. They called it Og Ivy, the Day of New Tears. It was unlike any celebration Irua had ever seen. Palm wine flowed. Drums echoed through the hills. Women danced in wrappers stitched with gold thread. But the centerpiece of it all was Ivy. She sat under a canopy of white cloth, surrounded by young girls, many of whom had feared her just weeks before. Now, they looked at her with wide eyes, as if seeing a queen. Mama Obu led a small dance around the sacred fire and declared, "From this day forward, tears will no longer carry poison, but power." Ivy smiled, for the first time in a long time. And as she raised her hands to the sky, thunder rolled gently in the distance. But it wasn't a warning. It was a bow. Even the heavens were paying respect. That night, after the celebration, Osahan found Ivy near the sacred grove. The moon lit her face like a lantern, and her eyes sparkled like stars dipped in water. He approached slowly, heart heavy. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said. "I already gave it," Ivy replied, her voice soft but steady. He stepped closer. "I still love you." Ivy turned to him, studied his face, and smiled sadly. "I believe you. But love built on sacrifice can never truly breathe. You gave me away once. I've only just found myself again." He nodded, tears brimming. She leaned forward, kissed his forehead gently, and whispered, "Go. Be a better man than the boy who bargained with spirits." And with that, she turned and walked into the trees. He watched her disappear into the shadows, and knew he would never love anyone the same way again. Ivy didn't return to her old home. Instead, she built a small hut by the edge of Omi River. She became the village's healer, the one people came to when sickness struck or when dreams disturbed their sleep. But she didn't just heal the body. She healed hearts. She listened. She taught the children that power isn't always loud, sometimes it slithers quietly, waiting to be understood. Some say they still hear her singing by the riverbank at night. Some say the snakes are gone. Others say they still live within her, only sleeping. But one thing is certain. No one ever cried alone again in Irua. Because they knew, if your tears fell with truth, she would come. Years passed. Ivy aged like fine wine, graceful, glowing, and strong. No one called her cursed anymore. They called her Euphwalma, peace. Her story became legend. Mothers told their daughters, "Don't fear your pain. It can birth something sacred." Her name was etched into the new village gate. Not as a warning, but as a blessing. And every year, on the Day of New Tears, people gathered by the river to wash their faces, to start fresh, to release grief, to find healing. The woman who once wept snakes now let others into freedom. She turned poison into purpose. She turned sorrow into strength. She turned her curse into a crown. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel something powerful deep inside, then don't let it end here. Like this video to support more African folktales like this. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss a story again. Turn on notifications so you're first to hear our next tale. And share this video with someone who needs healing, strength, or a reminder that even brokenness can become beautiful. Thank you for listening. Until next time, May your tears never be wasted.